Major John Reeves stood at attention as the selection committee read his name. His heart beat faster, but his face showed nothing. After 15 years of military service, he had been chosen to represent Earth in the stars. Major Reeves, you will serve as Earth's military liaison to the Galactic Confederation, General Phillips said. The Salathians specifically requested our best. That's you. John nodded once. Yes, sir. When do I leave? 3 days. Just enough time to say goodbye to your family. Later that night, John sat at the kitchen table with his wife, Lisa. Their 10-year-old daughter, Amy, was already asleep upstairs. 2 years, Lisa said, turning her coffee mug in circles. That's a long time, John. John reached across and took her hand. I know, but this is bigger than us. The Salathians say the Draken Empire is expanding. If Earth wants protection, we need to help our allies. Lisa squeezed his fingers. Just come back to us. Always, John promised. 3 days passed too quickly. John hugged Amy tightly at the spaceport, memorizing the smell of her hair and the feel of her small arms around his neck. I'll send messages whenever I can, he told her. And I'll bring back something from another world. Amy wiped her eyes. I want you, not a souvenir. John kissed Lisa goodbye, the kind of kiss that had to last for months. Then he walked up the ramp into the shuttle that would take him to the Salathian ship in orbit. The GC's horizon was enormous. John felt tiny as the shuttle docked in a bay larger than a football field. A tall, blue-skinned alien with 4 arms waited for him. Major Reeves, the alien said in perfect English. I am Admiral Zakhtar, military commander of this vessel. Welcome aboard. John saluted. Thank you, Admiral. I'm honored to serve with the Confederation. Zakhtar's yellow eyes blinked slowly. We have high hopes for human integration into our forces. Your species has shown remarkable tactical thinking, despite your limited technology. John followed Zakhtar through corridors filled with aliens of different shapes and colors. Some nodded respectfully, others stared with open curiosity. You will meet Science Officer Vela shortly, Zakhtar said. She has studied human physiology extensively and will ensure your needs are met. John's quarters were small but comfortable. A window showed the blackness of space and, in the distance, Earth growing smaller. He unpacked his few belongings and placed a photo of Lisa and Amy on the desk. Science Officer Vela arrived as he finished settling in. She was shorter than Zakhtar, with pale green skin and large dark eyes. Major, she said, I trust the accommodations are suitable. Very, John replied. Thank you. The Admiral has scheduled your first briefing in 1 hour. I will show you to the command center when you're ready. The command center buzzed with activity. Screens showed star maps and fleet positions. John recognized the red areas marking Draken territory. The Drakens have attacked 3 Confederation outposts in the past month. Zakhtar explained. We need strike teams capable of infiltration and direct combat. Humans excel at both. John studied the maps. You want me to lead a team? Yes. We have 6 other humans aboard already. They will form your squad. Zakhtar touched a screen, bringing up personnel files. Your first mission will be to Outpost Gamma 7. Intelligence suggests a small Draken force has taken control. Over the next few weeks, John trained with his human squad. They ran simulations of the outpost and practiced with Confederation weapons. John sent messages home when possible, telling Amy about the strange foods and Lisa about the stars. Their first mission was a success. John's tactical approach surprised even Zakhtar. You attacked from below, the Admiral said during the debriefing. Most species would never consider that approach. John shrugged. Enemies rarely look down. Word of their success spread quickly. More missions followed. John's team became known for getting results with minimal casualties. Other species began requesting human soldiers for joint operations. 6 months into his assignment, John received a private message from Admiral Zakhtar. Major Reeves, Your performance has exceeded our expectations. The Confederation Council has approved my request to expand your authority. Report to my quarters at 800 tomorrow. We have much to discuss about humanity's future among the stars." John stared at the message for a long time before responding. He couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. John entered Admiral Zactor's private quarters at exactly 800. The room was large with strange art on the walls and dim blue lighting. "Major Reeves," Zactor said, gesturing to a chair. "Please sit." John sat across from the four-armed alien. "You wanted to see me, Admiral." "Yes, the Drakens are planning something big. We've detected unusual activity near Outpost Kappa 9. Zactor showed John a holographic map. "I'm assigning your team to investigate." John studied the map. "This is deep in contested space. We'll need backup. Confederation forces will be nearby," Zactor assured him. "This mission is critical, Major. We believe the Drakens are testing a new weapon there." Later that day, John briefed his team. Sergeant Alan Peters, Corporal Diane Murphy, Private Ben Collins, Private Steve Garcia, Private Kyle Warren, and Private Maria Lopes. They had become like family over the past months. "This one's different," John told them. "We'll be far from support if things go wrong." "When do things ever go right?" Alan joked, cleaning his rifle. The team prepared their gear and boarded a small stealth ship. As they left the horizon, John couldn't shake a feeling of unease. He checked his personal tablet one more time before stowing it. 3 days ago, he had noticed something odd while reviewing mission logs. Several locations where human teams had been sent matched coordinates in private transmissions between Zactor and the Salathian High Command. John had copied some of these files to investigate later. The journey to Kappa 9 took 16 hours. The mining moon was barren and dark, its facilities abandoned years ago when the resources ran out. "Scanners show no signs of Draken activity," Maria reported as they orbited. "Place looks empty." John frowned. "Set us down near the main complex. We'll check it out on foot." They landed in a small canyon. The team moved quietly through the rocky terrain toward the mining facility. The air was thin but breathable. "I don't like this," Alan whispered. "Too quiet." John nodded. His instincts were screaming now. He keyed his comm. "Horizon, this is Reeves. Requesting status update on Draken movements in this sector." Only static answered. "Comms are being jammed," Diane said, checking her equipment. John made a quick decision. "We're pulling out. Back to the ship." They had only taken a few steps when energy blasts exploded around them. Not Draken weapons. Salathian. "Take cover," John shouted. His team scattered, firing back at hidden attackers. John spotted blue skin among the rocks. Salathian Special Forces. "They're shooting at us." Kyle yelled in disbelief before a blast hit him directly in the chest. He fell without another sound. "It's a trap," John shouted into his comm. "Mayday. Horizon, our team is under fire from Confederation forces." More static. Then Admiral Zactor's voice came through clearly. "I'm afraid your transmission is breaking up, Major Reeves. We can't understand you." John watched in horror as Maria and Ben were cut down by precision fire. "Why are you doing this?" he demanded. "Your species learns too quickly," Zactor replied calmly. "The Council has reconsidered humanity's role in the Confederation." Steve and Diane made a break for higher ground. Energy blasts found them both. Only Alan remained, back to back with John behind a large boulder. "Earth will never join you now," John said through gritted teeth. "Oh, Earth doesn't know." Zactor sounded almost amused. "They will receive our report that Major Reeves went rogue, killed his team, and died resisting arrest. A tragic incident." Alan took a shot to the shoulder. As John turned to help him, another blast hit Alan's head. John felt something hot tear through his own side. He fired back, taking down 2 Salathian soldiers before a blast knocked the weapon from his hands. Blood soaked John's uniform as he crawled behind a fallen mining structure. his vision blurred. Through the haze, he saw Xalathian soldiers checking his dead team members. "The humans are eliminated," one reported. "Major Reeves is wounded but escaped into the complex. He'll bleed out soon enough," another replied. "No need to waste time hunting him. This moon's atmosphere will finish him if the wounds don't." They left, taking the bodies of his team. John lay in the darkness, pain washing over him in waves. His last thought before consciousness faded was of Lisa and Amy, waiting for a husband and father who would never return. On Earth, they would believe he died a traitor. Pain woke John. Each breath hurt. He opened his eyes to darkness and cold. How long had he been unconscious? Hours? Days? His side was wet with blood, and his mouth was dry as dust. He tried to move and nearly passed out again. Gritting his teeth, John pulled himself to a sitting position against a metal wall. He needed water, medical supplies, and a way off this rock. In that order. A noise echoed through the abandoned mining complex. Footsteps. John reached for his sidearm, but it was gone. He looked around for anything to use as a weapon and found only a broken metal pipe. Better than nothing. The footsteps grew closer. John raised the pipe, ignoring the fire in his side. A figure appeared in the doorway. Not Salethian. This creature was tall and muscular with rough, reddish skin and a ridge of small spines along its head. The Drake. "So you're still alive," the Drake said in a gravelly voice. Impressive, for a human. John kept the pipe raised. "Come to finish what the Xalathians started." The Drake made a sound like rocks grinding together. Laughter. "If I wanted you dead, human, you would be. I've been watching you since they left." "Who are you?" "My name is Rexar, former commander in the Draken military." The alien held out a flask. "Water. Drink or don't. Your choice." John's thirst won over caution. He took the flask and drank carefully. "Why help me?" he asked. "Because we have common enemies." Rexar crouched down. "The Xalathians betrayed you. They betrayed many species, my people included. Your people are at war with the Confederation, a war engineered by the Xalathians. They pit species against each other while stealing technology and military tactics from both sides." Rexar pulled out a small device and pressed it against John's wounded side. A cool numbness spread through the injury. "That will stop the bleeding and prevent infection," Rexar explained. "Can you walk?" With Rexar's help, John staggered through the mining complex to a hidden chamber Rexar had converted into a living space. Food packages, water containers, and scavenge technology filled the room. "You've been here a while," John observed. 8 months. "My ship was damaged in a battle. I crashed here." Rexar gestured to a bed made of crates and fabric. "Rest. We'll talk more when you're stronger." John slept for what felt like days. When he woke, a human woman sat nearby, watching him with careful eyes. "Hello," she said. "I'm Nyla." John tried to sit up. "Another human. How?" "Rexar found me 2 months ago. I was the only survivor when Salathians accidentally destroyed my colony ship." Her voice was flat, but her eyes burned with anger. "They were testing the new weapon. 300 people died." "I'm sorry," John said. "Rexar says you were military." "An officer." John nodded. "Major John Reeves, Earth's military liaison to the Confederation." "Not anymore," Rexar said, entering the room. According to Confederation broadcasts, Major John Reeves went rogue and killed his team before dying in a firefight with Salathian security forces. John's hands clenched into fists. "And Earth believes this." "They have no reason not to," Neela said. "The Salathians are our trusted allies, remember." Over the next few days, as John regained his strength, Rexar shared what he knew. The Salathians weren't fighting to protect lesser species. They were harvesting military data to eventually conquer them all. Earth wasn't an ally, but a future target. "They do this with every promising species," Rexar explained. First cooperation, then betrayal, then conquest when the time is right. We need to warn Earth, John said. With what proof? Neela asked. Your word against the entire Confederation. John thought of his family, of Earth's leaders shaking hands with Admiral Zakhtar. Anger burned inside him, stronger than his pain. Then we get proof, he said. And we make them pay. Rexar showed them a small scout ship he'd been repairing. It's almost operational. Another week, maybe 2. John looked at the ship, then at Rexar and Neela. When it's ready, we leave. But not for Earth. Not yet. Where then? Neela asked. The fringe worlds. We need resources, allies. John's eyes hardened. I'm going to take down the Xalothians, starting with Zakhtar. Rexar's grinding laugh filled the room. I begin to see why the Xalothians feared humans. 2 years passed. The small scout ship was long gone, replaced by a much larger vessel. The Vengeance was an old military ship, decommissioned and sold for scrap before John's growing team had acquired it through less than legal means. John stood on the bridge, watching stars streak by through the main viewport. His face was harder now, with a scar running from his left temple to his jaw. His eyes were colder. We're approaching Nexus Station, said Sam Baker from the pilot's seat. Once an Earth Navy pilot, Sam had been discharged after questioning Xalothian influence in fleet operations. ETA 20 minutes. John nodded. Any Confederation patrols in the area? None detected, replied Neela, who now handled communications and sensors. But Nexus is always crawling with informants. We'll be careful. John touched a control panel. Dr. Morris, Hector, meet me in the cargo bay. Dr. Kate Morris and Hector Martinez were the newest additions to John's crew. Kate was a xenobiologist who had discovered secret Xalothian experiments on human subjects. Hector was a weapons specialist whose family had died on Neela's colony. Rexar was already in the cargo bay when they arrived, checking a crate of weapons. Remember, John said as the team gathered, we're here for information and supplies. No confrontations unless absolutely necessary. What about your contact? Hector asked, adjusting his holster. Can we trust him? Oren Kelly is a businessman, John replied. As long as we pay, he'll deliver. Nexus Station was a massive collection of habitats, markets, and docking bays built into an asteroid at the edge of Confederation space. All species mixed here: criminals, merchants, refugees, and spies. John's team moved through crowded corridors, avoiding Confederation security drones. They reached a shabby bar called the Broken Orbit. Inside, John spotted a heavyset man with a gray beard sitting alone in a corner booth. He motioned for the others to wait and approached. Kelly, he said quietly. Oren Kelly looked up and smiled, revealing gold teeth. Well, if it isn't the ghost of Major Reeves, still alive and causing trouble. You have what I asked for. Kelly patted a data chip on the table. Navigation codes, security protocols, and patrol schedules for the Epsilon sector. Cost me 3 good sources to get this. And the other item. That was harder. Kelly leaned forward. The Arcadians don't trust easily, but I found someone who knows how to contact them. John's eyes widened slightly. The Arcadians were thought to be extinct, wiped out by the Xalothians decades ago. Their stealth technology was legendary. Where? There's a woman on level 5, trading post 23. Goes by the name Mira. Tell her Oren sent you. John slid a credit chip across the table. Pleasure doing business. One more thing, Kelly said as John turned to leave. Word is there's a bounty on you now. 10 million credits, dead or alive. You've got the Xalothians worried. John allowed himself a small smile. Good. The team split up. Kate and Hector went for supplies while John, Neela, and Rexar headed to level 5. Trading Post 23 was a small shop selling alien artifacts. A slender woman with pale skin and silver hair stood behind the counter. I'm looking for Mira, John said. Oren sent me. The woman studied him for a long moment. Why would I care who sent you, human? Because we have common enemies, Rexer said. The kind that destroy entire species. Something changed in the woman's eyes. Follow me. She led them through a hidden door into a back room filled with strange technology. Once the door closed, she touched a device on her wrist. Her appearance shifted, revealing silvery skin with faint patterns like circuitry. You're Arcadian, Neela whispered. One of the few left, Mira confirmed. After the Xalathians attacked our homeworld, some of us escaped using phase shift technology. The Confederation claims the Arcadians die out from disease, John said. Mira's laugh was bitter. The disease was called Xalathian expansion. They wanted our stealth systems. When we refused to share, they took them by force. We're building a coalition, John explained. Species who have suffered Xalathian betrayal. We need your technology. Many have tried to fight the Xalathians, Mira said. All have failed. They've never faced a human with nothing left to lose, John replied. I was betrayed, my team killed, my name dishonored. I won't stop until they pay. Mira considered him. The Arcadian Council will want to meet you. If they approve, we can provide stealth systems for your ship. As they left the trading post, John's communicator beeped. Sam's voice came through, tense and urgent. Boss, we've got trouble. Confederation security is searching the docks. They know we're here. John looked at Rexer and Neela. Time to go. For the first time in 2 years, John felt hope. With Arcadian stealth technology, they could strike directly at Xalathian targets. The hunters would become the hunted. Soon, Zaktar, he whispered as they ran toward the docking bay. Soon. The Vengeance slipped through space, invisible to Xalathian scanners. The Arcadian stealth systems worked perfectly. 3 months had passed since meeting Mira, and John's team was ready for their first major strike. Epsilon 12 research station coming into visual range, Sam announced from the pilot's seat. John studied the station on the main screen. It was a sprawling complex of interconnected modules orbiting a small moon. According to their intelligence, the station housed vital Xalathian research data. Any defense systems? John asked. Standard weapons array, Hector replied. Nothing we can't handle with our new shields. What about personnel? Neela looked concerned. Are there civilian researchers? The station employs mostly military personnel, Rexer said, but there may be civilian scientists. John faced his team. Our mission is to retrieve data, not to inflict casualties. We go in quiet, get what we need, and leave. Dr. Morris will identify the relevant research files. Kate nodded. I'm looking for anything related to Earth or human biology. If they're planning an invasion, the evidence will be there. They docked at an emergency airlock, bypassing the main entry points. Rexer had modified Arcadian phase shift devices to work for short periods, allowing them to move through the station almost undetected. John, Kate, and Hector phased onto the station, while Sam, Neela, and Rexer remained aboard the Vengeance, ready for a quick extraction. Remember, 30 minutes maximum, John reminded them as they moved through dimly lit corridors. After that, the phase shift will fail. They reached the central data hub without incident. Kate connected her device to the main terminal while John and Hector stood guard. I'm in, Kate whispered after a tense minute. Downloading research files now. Her eyes widened as she scanned the incoming data. John, you need to see this. On the screen was a detailed plan for Earth's invasion. The Xalathians have been studying human weaknesses for years, planting sleeper agents in key positions within Earth's government. The invasion is scheduled for next year, Kate said. They've already compromised our defense systems. Download everything, John ordered. A sound from the corridor made them freeze. Voices approached, Xalathian security personnel. Hurry, John whispered. Kate worked frantically while John and Hector prepared for a fight. The voices grew closer. Download complete, Kate said, disconnecting her device. Just as they were about to leave, Kate stopped. Wait, there's a secure area nearby. The schematics show it's a detention block. We don't have time, Hector warned. There are humans being held there, Kate insisted. Lab subjects. John made a quick decision. Show me. They took a side passage, using the station map Kate had downloaded. The detention block was guarded by two infiltrators. John and Hector took them out silently. Inside were cells containing various species. Most were unconscious, hooked to monitoring equipment. In the last cell, John found a human male in a tattered uniform. Earth military, John said, recognizing the insignia. He checked the man's ID tag. Colonel Frank Warren. The name hit John like a punch. Frank Warren had been his commanding officer before the Salathian Alliance. John had attended his memorial service when he was reported killed in action 3 years ago. He's alive, Kate confirmed after checking his vital signs, but heavily sedated. We're taking him with us, John decided. They disconnected Frank from the machines and carried him through the corridors. Their phase shift devices were already beginning to flicker as they reached the airlock. An alarm suddenly blared through the station. Alert! Security breach in Section 7. All personnel to battle stations. They've discovered the missing guards, Hector said. John activated his comm. Sam, prepare for immediate departure. They phased back onto the Vengeance just as Salathian security forces reached the airlock. Sam disengaged from the station and activated the engines. Multiple ships launching from the station, Neela reported. Pursuit course. Activate stealth systems, John ordered. The Vengeance disappeared from Salathian sensors. The pursuit ships circled in confusion, unable to track them. In the medical bay, Kate worked to revive Colonel Warren, while John reviewed the stolen data. One file caught his attention, a communication between Admiral Zakhtar and Earth's defense minister. I found our proof, John said grimly, and our way back to Earth. For the first time since the betrayal, John allowed himself to think of Lisa and Amy. Soon, Colonel Frank Warren, recovered slowly. For days, he drifted between consciousness and sleep in the medical bay of the Vengeance. When he finally stayed awake, John was waiting. Major Reeves. Frank stared in disbelief. They said you were dead. A traitor. I could say the same about you, Colonel. John sat beside the bed. What happened to you? Frank's hands shook as he accepted a cup of water. My team was investigating unusual Salathian activity near Jupiter's moons. We found something, a hidden base. Before we could report back, they attacked us. His eyes darkened. I watched my people die. They kept me alive for experiments. Earth thinks you died in a training accident, John said. Frank laughed bitterly. Of course they do. John showed Frank the data they had stolen. Frank studied it, his face growing grimmer by the minute. We need to get this to Earth, Frank said. Some in command suspect the Salathians aren't the allies they claim to be, but they lack proof. I can't just walk into Earth headquarters, John reminded him. I'm a wanted man. Not if I go first. Frank sat up straighter. I'll take the evidence and prepare the way. There are people I trust, people who will listen. After much discussion, they formed a plan. Frank would return to Earth on a small shuttle, carrying copies of the evidence. John and his team would follow later, making contact only when Frank confirmed it was safe. A week later, they watched Frank's shuttle depart. Do you think it will work? Neela asked. It has to, John replied. While waiting for Frank's signal, John decided to risk something he had avoided for years. Using a secure channel Rexar had set up, he sent a message to Lisa. Just 3 words. I am alive. The response came 2 days later. Prove it. John recorded a short video, mentioning things only he and Lisa would know. Their first date at Willow Lake, Amy's stuffed elephant named Trunk, the silly songs they made up on road trips. The next message from Lisa made his heart stop. We are being watched. They took me for questioning after you disappeared. They monitor our communications. Be careful. Can we extract them? John asked Rexar. My wife and daughter. Too risky without support on Earth, Rexar cautioned. Exalathian agents would detect any approach. John paced the bridge, weighing options. Before he could decide, a coded message arrived from Frank. Evidence delivered. Allies secured. Return now. Coordinates attached. The coordinates led to a remote military base in Alaska. John felt a mix of hope and suspicion. It could be a trap, Hector warned. Or our only chance to clear your name, Kate countered. John made his decision. Sam, set course for Earth. Activate the stealth systems once we enter the solar system. The journey to Earth took 3 days. As they approached, Neela monitored all communications. Something's wrong, she said. There's increased chatter about security protocols. And I'm picking up Galathian transmissions from Earth's surface. They know we're coming, John realized. Using the Arcadian stealth technology, they landed near the coordinates Frank had sent. Captain Eric Daniels, an old friend of John's, met them with a small squad of trusted soldiers. Frank told us everything, Eric said. Half the high command believes him. The other half thinks he's suffering from trauma or brainwashing. And the Galathians? John asked, demanding we turn Frank over for medical evaluation. They've increased their presence at all major military installations. Where's Frank now? Secure location, and he has a message for you. Eric handed John a datapad. Coordinates where your family is being held. John's blood ran cold. Held? By whom? Officially, they're in protective custody. Unofficially, they're hostages. Admiral Zakhtar arrived personally to oversee their care. John's hands clenched into fists. Zakhtar is here. On Earth. Eric nodded. His ship landed yesterday at the Confederation Embassy. John turned to his team. Change of plans. We're getting my family first. And then? Rexar asked. John's eyes were like ice. Then I pay Zakhtar a visit. That night, they infiltrated the secure compound where Lisa and Amy were held. Using the phase shift devices, John and Hector slipped past guards while the others monitored from outside. John found his wife and daughter in a comfortable but locked suite. When he materialized in their room, Amy screamed before recognizing her father. Daddy? Her voice trembled as John deactivated his stealth device. Lisa stood frozen, tears streaming down her face. John, is it really you? It's me. John embraced them both. I'm taking you out of here. Now. As they prepared to leave, the door slid open. Admiral Zakhtar stood in the doorway, flanked by guards. Major Reeves, Zakhtar said calmly. How predictable you humans are. Colonel Frank Warren recovered slowly. For days, he drifted between consciousness and sleep in the medical bay of the Vengeance. When he finally stayed awake, John was waiting. Major Reeves. Frank stared in disbelief. They said you were dead. A traitor. I could say the same about you, Colonel. John sat beside the bed. What happened to you? Frank's hands shook as he accepted a cup of water. My team was investigating unusual Galathian activity near Jupiter's moons. We found something, a hidden base. Before we could report back, they attacked us. His eyes darkened. I watched my people die. They kept me alive for experiments. Earth thinks you died in a training accident, John said. Frank laughed bitterly. Of course they do. John showed Frank the data they had stolen. Frank studied it, his face growing grimmer by the minute. We need to get this to Earth, Frank said. Some in command suspect the Galathians aren't the allies they claim to be, but they lack proof. I can't just walk into Earth headquarters, John reminded him. I'm a wanted man. Not if I go first. Frank sat up straighter. I'll take the evidence and prepare the way. There are people I trust, people who will listen. After much discussion, they formed a plan. Frank would return to Earth on a small shuttle, carrying copies of the evidence. John and his team would follow later, making contact only when Frank confirmed it was safe. A week later, they watched Frank's shuttle depart. "Do you think it will work?" Neela asked. "It has to," John replied. While waiting for Frank's signal, John decided to risk something he had avoided for years. Using a secure channel Rexar had set up, he sent a message to Lisa. Just 3 words. "I am alive." The response came 2 days later. "Prove it." John recorded a short video, mentioning things only he and Lisa would know. Their first date at Willow Lake, Amy's stuffed elephant named Trunk, the silly songs they made up on road trips. The next message from Lisa made his heart stop. "We are being watched. They took me for questioning after you disappeared. They monitor our communications. Be careful." "Can we extract them?" John asked Rexar. "My wife and daughter." "Too risky without support on Earth," Rexar cautioned. Salethian agents would detect any approach. John paced the bridge, weighing options. Before he could decide, a coded message arrived from Frank. "Evidence delivered. Allies secured. Return now. Coordinates attached." The coordinates led to a remote military base in Alaska. John felt a mix of hope and suspicion. "It could be a trap," Hector warned. "Or our only chance to clear your name," Kay countered. John made his decision. "Sam, set course for Earth. Activate the stealth systems once we enter the solar system." The journey to Earth took 3 days. As they approached, Neela monitored all communications. "Something's wrong," she said. "There's increased chatter about security protocols. And I'm picking up Salethian transmissions from Earth's surface." "They know we're coming," John realized. Using the Arcadian stealth technology, they landed near the coordinates Frank had sent. Captain Eric Daniels, an old friend of John's, met them with a small squad of trusted soldiers. "Frank told us everything," Eric said. "Half the high command believes him. The other half thinks he's suffering from trauma or brainwashing." "And the Salethians?" John asked. "Demanding we turn Frank over for medical evaluation. They've increased their presence at all major military installations." "Where's Frank now?" "Secure location. And he has a message for you." Eric handed John a datapad. "Coordinates where your family is being held." John's blood ran cold. "Held? By whom?" "Officially, they're in protective custody. Unofficially, they're hostages. Admiral Zakhtar arrived personally to oversee their care." John's hands clenched into fists. "Zakhtar is here. On Earth." Eric nodded. "His ship landed yesterday at the Confederation Embassy." John turned to his team. "Change of plans. We're getting my family first." "And then?" Rexar asked. John's eyes were like ice. "Then I pay Zakhtar a visit." That night, they infiltrated the secure compound where Lisa and Amy were held. Using the phase shift devices, John and Hector slipped past guards, while the others monitored from outside. John found his wife and daughter in a comfortable but locked suite. When he materialized in their room, Amy screamed before recognizing her father. "Daddy?" Her voice trembled as John deactivated his stealth device. Lisa stood frozen, tears streaming down her face. "John, is it really you?" "It's me." John embraced them both. "I'm taking you out of here. Now." As they prepared to leave, the door slid open. Admiral Zakhtar stood in the doorway, flanked by guards. "Major Reeves," Zakhtar said calmly. "How predictable you humans are." The Vengeance dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Xalith Prime. The blue-green world hung before them, surrounded by defense platforms and a massive fleet of warships. "Their defenses are even stronger than we expected," Sam said from the pilot's seat. John studied the tactical display. "We need to get to the central command tower. According to our prisoner, that's where the High Council meets." In the 2 days since leaving Earth, they had gathered allies. 3 Draken warships commanded by friends of Rexar, 5 Arcadian stealth vessels supplied by Mira, and most surprisingly, 2 Earth ships that had followed them, destroyers under the command of Captain Daniels. All ships report ready, Mila announced from communications. Arcadian vessels are in position. John looked around the bridge at his team. Kate, Sam, Neela, Hector, Rexar, they had become his family over the past 2 years. And now Lisa and Amy stood with them, refusing to be left behind on Earth. "This is it," John said. "We may not all make it back, but what we do today could save billions of lives across the galaxy." He keyed the comm. "All ships, commence Operation Reckoning." The Arcadian vessels struck first, using their stealth technology to slip past the orbital defenses and disable key weapons platforms. The Draken warships followed, drawing Salathian ships away from their positions. "Our turn," John said. "Sam, take us in." The Vengeance, cloaked with Arcadian stealth technology, dove toward the planet's surface. Salathian ships fired blindly, trying to hit what they couldn't see. "They're activating planetary shields," Kate warned. "Right on schedule," John replied. He turned to their prisoner. "Admiral Zaktar, it's time for you to be useful." Zaktar glared but knew he had no choice. The Admiral transmitted the security codes John demanded. The planetary shields flickered, creating a brief window. "Shields down for 30 seconds, Hector reported. "We're through." The Vengeance raced toward the central command tower in the heart of the Salathian capital. Behind them, Earth destroyers engaged Salathian reinforcements, buying them time. "Landing zone ahead," Sam announced. "Heavy resistance." John turned to Lisa and Amy. "Stay with the ship. If something goes wrong, Sam will get you out." Lisa gripped his arm. "Come back to us." "Always," John promised, the same word he had spoken before leaving Earth years ago. John led his strike team, Rexar, Hector, and Kate, into the central command tower. Salathian guards fell before their combined tactics. Years of fighting together had made them unstoppable. They reached the High Council chamber and found 7 Salathian leaders inside, including High Commander Vector. "Impossible," Vector said as they entered. "No alien has ever reached this chamber." "I'm full of surprises," John replied. He activated a device Kate had prepared, a broadcast transmitter that would send their conversation to every world in the Confederation. "People of the Confederation," John began, "I am Major John Reeves of Earth. For years, the Salathian High Council has betrayed species across the galaxy, manipulating them into conflicts, stealing their technology, and planning their conquest." "Lies," Vector shouted. John played recordings of Zaktar's confession. "The Salathians see all other species as tools to be used and discarded. Today that ends." Outside, the space battle raged. The Vengeance shook as Salathian forces attacked the landing zone. "We have to hurry," Hector warned. Vector lunged at John, enraged by the broadcast. John met him head-on, all his training and anger focused into each strike. The High Commander was stronger, but John was fighting for more than himself. He was fighting for every betrayed species, for his family, for Earth. A powerful blow sent John to his knees. Vector stood over him, ready to deliver a killing strike. "Even if you kill me," John said, "you've already lost. The truth is out." A shot rang out. Vector stumbled back, blue blood spreading across his ornate uniform. Behind John stood Admiral Zaktar, holding a stolen weapon. "Why?" Vector gasped. "Because he spared me," Zaktar replied. "Something you would never understand." With Vector down, the remaining council members surrendered. John's team secured the central defense systems, preventing any counterattack. John opened a channel to the Allied fleet. "The central command is ours. Stand down all Salathian forces." One by one, Salathian ships ceased firing. The invasion fleet bound for Earth received new orders to return home. In the days that followed, representatives from all Confederation species gathered on Salith Prime. The Salathian monopoly on power was broken. A new galactic union formed, with equal representation for all members. Earth welcomed John home as a hero. His name cleared and his actions celebrated. The media called him the soldier who saved two worlds.